Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I know that you have been laying awake at night, wondering why baby diapers have brand names such as Loves, Huggies, and Pampers, while undergarments for old people are called Depends. Well, here's the lowdown on the whole thing. When babies mess in their pants, people are still going to love them, hug them, and pamper them. When old people mess in their pants, it depends on who's named in the will. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, hang in there. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning, everybody, on a Tuesday, February the 4th, and I'm Zeb Bell. It's Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you for being our major sponsor for many, many years. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. I love my pillow. They got the memory foam pillows over there. Really, really great. Along with Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Give them a call. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly 734-6969. Well, it just depends, Gina.
Well, it also depends on who's poised to benefit from that person.
You better believe it.
I thought that was funny. I got a good chuckle.
Well, and when you laugh, the sincerity of your laugh is absolutely, it's impeccable.
Oh, it's so funny, though.
Yeah. So how are you?
I am doing well. It is a beautiful Tuesday. A little bit chilly outside, but today's going to be a great day. I just know it.
Well, I certainly hope you're right. I'm scared to go out in snow and ice, and that's one of my little nemesises. This is for quite some time. And a lady called me yesterday, and she said, "Give everybody an update as to how you're doing." So I tell you what, let's go to our Pledge of Allegiance, and then the weather, and then we'll come back and I'll tell everybody.
Okay. Well, we've got Abby on for the pledge, and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
We've got Miss Abby. All right. Good morning, Abby. How are you?
Good.
Well, I am fantastic. Thank you for asking. Please give us the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You just are growing up, my dear. Thank you so much, and God bless you, and have a wonderful day today, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to find out exactly what is going to happen weather-wise, and if we're going to get some more of that angel dandruff falling on the ground. Here's MichaelRogersWeather.com.
The weather, which, if you want to get into the global warming argument, go right ahead and knock yourself out. We're going to be in the 20s all the way through Friday. They're going to low be right around low to mid-teens, and it's going to be sun and clouds all the way through. So just throw a sweater on, and you don't have to worry about angel dust at least until Friday. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go, my buddy, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you so much. You know, I'm very proud to have longevity with all of our great advertisers and sponsors. And these folks over at Daryl's Cleaners have been riding the horse with me on this program ever since I think I started this show. And they're absolutely phenomenal. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And I have taken my clothes there long before they even became an advertiser. And believe me, they do the best job. I'm really fussy about my sports shirts and my Wranglers and everything. They do the best job of anybody. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You be sure and stop in and see them today. Somebody else that does a fantastic job, and I know Deanne is very, very high on their service, and that's, of course, SafeLink Internet Services, Idaho's #1 choice for wireless high-speed internet. And order now, because no contracts required, no credit checks, unlimited data, high speeds up to 15 megabytes. Just absolutely phenomenal people to work with. Call 677-8000. That number again, 677-8000. SafeLink Internet, serving you. I had a lady call me, and she said, well, just exactly, how are you doing? And I said, well, not too bad. Actually, I'm very impatient, as Gina knows and Deanne knows and everybody. And I want this healing process to be done like yesterday. But the leg is really, really coming back, and I can walk slowly around the house. I can walk around the house on my crutches, and if you wanted to have a match race between a tortoise across the kitchen floor from one end of the kitchen to the other, put your money on the turtle. You'll make a bundle. But you don't use your watch to time me in a race. You use a sundial just to make sure I'm moving. But other than that, we're coming along. And excellent physical therapy. Davey Mussman's got me really coming back. So I've got a lot of great things to say. So that answers that. Any questions, Gina?
Well, I was just going to say, so you're doing the super shuffle?
I wouldn't even call it a shuffle. I'd call it a shadow catcher. I'm trying to catch up with my shadow.
Well, you better move quick, because with the time of the day, the shadow moves quickly, you know.
You know, I'll get up from sitting here for 3 hours, and I'm not going to make any excuses about this, because you take and combine older age and then being all busted up and then, sitting for 3 hours. It takes me to get out of this chair. It looks like a reclamation project to get all the arms and the legs and the rest of the body going in the same direction.
Now, what does your physical therapist say? Are you ahead of the curve on your healing process?
I asked her that last night, seriously, and she said that I'm probably 80% ahead of where I should be. Hallelujah. That's, I want to hear that again, because I was really negative. Another 2 hallelujahs, please, my dear lady. Hallelujah. Oh, yeah. No, I am. I've been really working hard on the physical therapy, and you know who does the physical therapy when the physical therapist isn't here? It's Deanne.
Your lovely wife.
And she has done a phenomenal job, and one of the big reasons that she does such a wonderful job is that she just loves to see me contort in pain.
We all have to have our own personal pleasure out of this, and so if that is hers, go Deanne!
There's one exercise that, honest to goodness, now picture this. I had part of the bone on the thigh and part of the bone down in the bottom part of the leg replaced and cemented into the rest of the bone, and then that cemented into a new knee and everything. And one of the exercises is to sit in a chair and you're sitting with your feet flat on the floor, bring the leg back underneath you.
Oh, so you can stretch the ligaments and everything.
Yeah, so like picture, I'm sitting in a chair, and it's like when you're riding a bicycle and your leg's way back of you. That's where you take the leg.
So I'm assuming that you're sitting on the edge of the okay. So I'm actually doing this in the studio while I'm talking.
Yeah, reach down and grab your around the ankle and just bring your leg right back of you in a bent position.
Yeah, and honestly, because what you're doing is you're stretching the ligaments and everything.
No, actually, what you're doing is causing a fat old man to pass out.
Let's look at this in the clinical fashion, Zeb.
And Deanne gets a kick out of it, you know, and in the morning it's the hardest because you're really stiff and sore from laying around all night. And when she starts that exercise and brings that leg back underneath me and my eyeballs bug out and my ears start to spin in circles and the sweat's pouring down my brow and other places, that hurts.
Yeah, and she's got to go, okay, Zeb, we got to go just a little bit farther.
Yeah, that's right. They make a mark. You're right. They make a mark on the floor, and they see how far they go, and then they try to beat it each time. And I'm sitting there going, my gosh, dial 911, baby. You're killing me.
You know, but here, I'd say, honestly, in a very short amount of time, you're going to have this licked, and you're going to be back to normal. So we're very proud of you for your dedication to your improvement.
If Al Butler's listening, he's going to all of a sudden jump up and say, define normal.
Exactly. Speaking of phone calls, we've got a phone call for you.
I'll take it right after this commercial. Valley-wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Don't forget they've got all your horse tack. And I emphasize that here we are already, February 4th, and you realize the high school rodeo kids are going to start getting ready here pretty quick? They've got everything over there for you, all your horses. They've got 10% off selected calving items all the way up until February 15th. And check out Valley-wide for all your needs. Stop in for a hot cup of coffee in the morning or maybe lunch at noon. They've got it all for you over there. Steve and the rest of the crew, all the pine shavings for your horse trailers and stalls. Valley-wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. The only thing that I think you should have done when you went down there is got a knee without a greaser. Yesterday when I put that hose on there to give you a shot of grease in that knee, I thought that was a little old-fashioned, but I don't know. Maybe that's a new way.
Well, they'll just run me up on the hoist and give me another 3,000 miles, huh?
Yeah.
Listen, you old buzzard, the other day at Lunch Bunch, I got to tell everybody, I roll in there in the wheelchair, and I pull up next, and this is Jack Euler. And poor Jack, I felt sorry for him, but I got to give him a hard time. He turned around and he says, how you doing? And he took his hand and he slapped me on the leg, but guess what knee it was? And when I came back down to earth after I'd orbited in a moonshot for about 30 minutes, I said, fine.
I know, I felt really bad.
Yeah, I could tell because you were laughing so hard. So anyway, God bless you.
I'm glad to see you doing so well, and just keep up that therapy. That means a lot.
All right, now listen, and Jack, same to you. You know, we're all pulling in your corner for your health and everything, so thanks for your phone call. And when I go to Salt Lake on the 26th, I'll tell them to put some grease zerks in there so we don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, don't forget that Ramsey Heating and Electric has all your furnace air fillers. That's right. The cold weather is in the forecast, boy, this week especially. I was just looking at the wicker bill here on the old computer, and my goodness, we're going to be down there really chilly. So you're going to be asking your furnace to do the job for you. Well, you do the job for your furnace and stop in and get those air filters. They got them all sizes. And stop into Ramsey Heating and Electric for all your electrical needs at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that interview again with Obama and O'Reilly. There's been some other things come up from that, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, but calls are welcome. By the way, last week we had our first inaugural, caller, I'll be right there, don't go away. We had our first inaugural lunch bunch at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And Thomas, if you're listening out there this morning, absolutely the best in service. The best in service. He was there caring for everybody. Of course, we had Terry there. We had an excellent staff really helping us celebrate our first Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant. It was great service, food, everything. You're going to love it. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, stop in. And don't forget, senior citizens, show your AARP card and get 15% off on your ticket. Denny's Restaurant in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Like you said, with you, what is normal?
I knew you'd call. I knew you'd call.
I'm going to have to send you a card like you sent Jack. Make sure your whatchamacallit works along with your doohickey that, you can take care of your whatchamacallit.
I think you're getting way too personal.
Say what?
I said I think you're getting way too personal.
Well, I just sent one to Jack trying to, make him feel worse or better or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you have a tendency. You have a tendency that when a man is in water that is way too deep, you have a tendency to pour more on top of him.
No, I just hand him a rock.
Yeah, I know you do. No, God bless you.
The lunch bunch was great, and I told you. So hang in there.
All right, buddy. Al, thanks so much. I appreciate your call.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's been a lot of questions by not only people with Fox News. I want to get away from the Fox News this, Fox News that, O'Reilly this, O'Reilly that. I want to look at the outside perimeter of news, like with the Washington Post and perhaps the New York Times and with CNN and others. And I've been picking up tidbits of information from these other sources and the Wall Street Journal and many others. And the questions are out there by what appears to be some honest, inquiring journalists that are asking about Obama lying about certain things during the interview on Sunday, and also avoiding answering many questions regarding the terrorist report in Benghazi, and especially one question that was avoided. And that was on Kathleen Sebelius and why she still has a job. Obama, he didn't walk around the issue. He ran away from the issue and avoided it in its entirety. And some of the body language experts that have watched the interview and have been on television, again, not just on Fox, but other people, other news sources, including the newspapers I mentioned, have said the man was on defense from the get-go, and he had a wall built around the facts. And one thing that was very, very clear, more than 3 times in that short 11-minute interview, 3 times when it came up about Benghazi and issues that still have not been answered, IRS issues that still have not been answered, and Obamacare, the wreck that's still going on. There's even parts, last night, I got a sidetrack here for a minute. Last night, my wife and I were sitting there watching the news, and we were absolutely astounded that the back half of the website for the paying and also the receiving of benefits hasn't even been developed yet. Think about that. And this man blamed Fox News and O'Reilly and others with the network for the information going out to the public that kept them stirred up. Why shouldn't we be stirred up? They passed a 2,700-page Obamacare bill that even like the lovely Botox queen, Nancy Pelosi, said, well, we have to pass it first, and then we'll read it and study it and find out what's in it. Good heavens help us. This is the worst politics ever in the history of the United States. Valentine sponsors, and I want to say thank you and a happy Valentine's to you and your sweethearts. And let's not forget, Drift In at 545 F Street in Rupert. Oh, they've got a getaway, a weekend getaway for Valentine's Day. 6 spacious, newly remodeled suites. Available for overnight guests. All you have to do is call 436-1300 to book today. And on Tuesday nights, tonight they've got Chef Dave Haley and Italian entrees on Tuscan Tuesdays. It's delicious at the Drift Inn in Rupert. Also, don't forget Whipple's Book Plaza, 222, I love saying that, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. You can visit the Book Plaza, and Colonel Dale, what a nice man. Perfect gifts over there, and if you mention you heard this ad on Zeb at the Ranch, you'll get 10% off on your purchases, whether it's the books or the Precious Moments, greeting cards, whatever you need. It's Whipple's Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. All right, let's get some more phone calls coming on in at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is really so scary when I heard this story, and this absolutely is dangerous as to what's going on in our society with our young people. There was a doctor on television early this morning, and he studies the drug problems in this United States. He's written many, many books about the drug problems and how people get connected to drugs. And he was studying the recent actor that passed away because of an overdose on heroin. And I'm going to give you some statistics in just a moment after we take this call that you're just not going to believe. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, it comes down to that President Pinocchio and the Democratic Party in whole. If they can't lie about it or blame somebody else, they just raise heck and scream and holler so nobody else can get a word in edgewise. They do anything to disrupt our politics. They're a disgrace to the nation, period.
Jerry, let me ask you a question. Why wouldn't they be further served and their poll numbers would go much higher if they would admit that there's been shortcomings, admit that there's been a lack of information provided to solve the answers to the American public? That would just boost and elevate that man in the polls. He's down around 39-40%. I absolutely think if he told the truth, he'd be way up to about 55%.
Well, I think he would too, and I think they would too, but they just don't do it.
That's right.
I don't know why they don't tell the truth. It's a lot easier. And, you know, things go better if you admit that you made a mistake.
Absolutely.
But they can't do that. They've either got to blame it on some past president like Reagan or Bush or, clear back to Abraham Lincoln. But they'll never take the blame for anything themselves they do wrong.
I agree with you,
For
Jerry.
anything that, goes against the grain, it's always the other guy's fault.
I agree with you, and it's not just with the Democrats. The Republicans have done the same thing, unfortunately.
I agree with you 100%. I think they've laid down and they're playing lapdogs.
Yep, I agree. Jerry, God bless you.
There's no answer. We got both sides that aren't doing what they should be doing.
Absolutely.
That's working for the people, doing an honest job, being honest, and doing the best they can to serve our country.
There you go. Couldn't agree more, and very well stated. Thank you, Jerry. God bless you, man.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you. Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn with my buddy Jim McCall. Oh, get your filter orders in now. Don't forget to get your tractor serviced. They've got all the oils. They've got all the tools for your shop. They got all the bolts. They got all the... Here's where I bit my tongue yesterday. I said, well, I won't tell you what I said, but I'll say it right today. Welding rods. There we go. They've got everything, including something that you need to have in the field this spring. A bubba rope. Got to have a bubba rope. And they got the pink bubba ropes. Pink bubba ropes. Why, they'll just pull you right out of the mud and the muck, I'll guarantee you. Get a hold of Jim today, 438-8730. Travel Lube Supply. They deliver the goods. Time now for the Capital Press Ag Minute. We'll be right back.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
The U.S. Senate is set to take a vote this afternoon on a new farm bill. Senators voted Monday to close debate on the 5-year measure and set a vote for 2:30 p.m. Washington time. The House approved the massive farm bill more than 2 years in the making last week. The bill will cost more than $900 billion over 10 years for farm programs and food stamps. The bill ends direct payments to producers, instead bolstering crop insurance programs. It also provides a permanent program to aid livestock producers affected by natural disasters. It's enjoyed broad support amongst farming organizations. This is Hannah Brous.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Thank you very much. Well done, Capital Press. What a great ag newspaper. This is what I was going to tell you a moment ago. And parents, listen to me very closely on this, and any parent. It doesn't make any difference where you are, what status your family is, whatever your income might be. I don't care. All parents, listen to this. It has been estimated now through medical journals, and especially this one doctor working on complete research across this United States, that 21%, now remember that number, 21% of children ages 12 to 17, all the kids in the United States ages 12 to 17, 21% of them have tried shooting up with heroin. Let that sink in. 21% of kids across the United States, from New York to LA, ages 12 to 17, have tried shooting up with heroin. We're not seeing a drug problem go away in this country. We're seeing a drug problem be enhanced. And it starts, whether it's with alcohol or marijuana, and then on to the hard stuff. But heroin addiction. And kids, 12, not even in their teens, 12 to 17, 21% of all the kids across the country. And the other thing is, too, and this doctor really had a scary report, but it was an open and honest report. And there are advertisements on the radio and television right now about people be very, very wary whether your grandson or your granddaughter comes over with a friend and they ask if they can use the restroom. You've heard the ads and seen the ads about making sure your medicine cabinet is locked up or your meds are out of sight, out of availability for people. They're taking these meds, and it's absolutely turning into one of the worst scenarios I could ever think of. But, Gina, if you're right there, I want you to turn your microphone on and respond to this. Because your little boy Kennedy is 6 years away from being in that bracket of 21% of those kids, 12 to 17, that have tried shooting up with heroin. My gosh! As a single mom, that must scare you to death.
That is a very scary statistic, and thankfully we do live in an area where we can control that just a little bit more.
But, you know...
I've got a mouthful of food.
But no. But that's all right. But don't you think right there what you said, and I'm not criticizing you for what you just said, but I think some people in certain areas, be it here or whether it's Alaska, I don't care, they use location and naivete as a crutch.
They do. And it's not to say that we don't have a problem here, because we do. And I think it's among us parents to be a little bit more proactive and know where our kids are, who they're hanging out with, and what they're doing, and checking in on them. And if they happen to act a little funny, you have to kind of investigate that. Don't just think, oh, well, you know, it's just a teenage thing, and, oh, they're acting up because they're just being a teen. No, you know your child, so you have to you have to pay attention to what they're doing.
I just can't imagine, and you've seen the movies, you know, and the depiction of the heroin addict, you know, having to run over to the side of a dirty alley and then put a rubber band around his arm and then go ahead and shoot himself up with the heroin. But when you think about kids, 12 to 17, and 21% of those kids across the country have tried shooting up with heroin, it just makes me think, my God, what kind of a Satan society are we living in?
I know, 12 to 17.
Yeah.
Who are they associating with, and where in the heck are they getting it?
And where's the money coming from? Where's the money coming from?
Mom and Dad better be checking their wallets.
Amen. Amen. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Do you think I'm wrong for being absolutely aghast over this?
Good morning.
Yes, talk to me, caller.
Something that really bothers me, you know, I feel sorry for Hoffman's family, but he basically took his own life. We have a military laying their life on the line, and it's never mentioned. You get notoriety, I guess, for self-destruct.
I want to make sure I heard all your point. You were talking about the actor, is that correct?
No, I'm talking about the Hoffman that OD'd on heroin, that actor.
Yeah, that's just what I said. I said you're talking about the actor that overdosed on heroin. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
He's self-destructing. We have our military laying their life on the line. This never mentioned it. That's last night.
Well, I agree with you there, but I mean, actually, I don't agree with you to some extent, George. I think that the news coverage of this man, this Hoffman, this actor, being found with a syringe in his arm is very important. And it sounds gruesome. It sounds bad. It's absolutely chilling. But I think it needs to be told. I think it needs to be amplified, because I hope it scares even one person that would scare away from trying such a heinous activity. At least one life will be spared.
I agree, but it's you take all these shootings and everything is got news media coverage, and I think that's what a lot of these people are after. If something like that happens, yes, mention it, but don't dwell on it.
Well, I got a difference of opinion there with you, buddy, because when I heard that 21% of the kids aged 12 to 17 have tried shooting up with heroin, oh no, I disagree with you. I think that should be dwelled on. It should be hammered on. I think all the parents should be very cognizant of what's going on. They should be watching their kids a lot closer, checking for signs. They should be doing a lot more. I disagree with you, and you're one of my best friends, but I disagree with you because I think parents, school systems, churches, everybody needs to be more cognizant. 21% of a certain segment of our society is a heck of a lot of people, George.
It is. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I think they publicize it too much on some of the things.
Well, I appreciate and I respect your opinion. Are you feeling better this morning?
A little better, yeah.
Okay, well, eat some more chicken soup so we can get together and visit.
All right, we'll do so.
All right, thanks, George, thanks. One of my dearest friends right there, but I'm different of opinion. I think we should be just absolutely shouting this from the rooftops. 21% of kids in this country, 12 to 17, are trying such a killer drug. It's a killer drug. There is no way around it, and there's been movies that have portrayed the absolute demise, the story victims with heroin addiction and dying. I mean, in a back alley, like this guy bought the heroin, and it was that fast-paced heroin that they've added so much to it. It's made down in Mexico, they said, and they're bringing it up into this country, and if you get the dosage wrong, I mean, bang, you're dead. He died with a needle in his arm. And then you think of kids. Now, you sit there at the radio station, and when you drop your boy off at school, you're seeing the same age bracket, 12 to 17, and then you got to start thinking to yourself, whoa, 21% of those kids that age all across the country have tried something like that?
Yeah, that's kind of a scary statistic, and, that brings to mind, number one, where are they getting the money? Number two, who are they associating with to get it in the first place? So the parents need to be a little bit more proactive. And, I am very saddened by Hoffman's death, but by no means am I going to glorify him and the way that he went. That was a personal choice. He's the one that did it to himself. So do I feel sorry for him? Not in the least.
And here's something that's going to sound very, very right-wing and ultra conservative.
Hardcore conservative, okay.
Okay? I absolutely think anybody pushing the drugs, selling the heroin, that should be the same as attempted murder, and they should be brought up on charges of such attempted murder.
Or aiding and abetting in murder, or straight up murder charges themselves.
Yeah, I think that as a person that just abhors this kind of thing happening to our kids, and the luring of them into that kind of a culture to where they're sticking needles in their arms and shooting up with one of the most dangerous drugs known to mankind, that honestly, I think that if they catch these pushers, I don't care who they are, or what they represent, there is no beating. There is no beating that could be severe enough to those people for what they're doing to our kids.
Exactly, and I just like what you said. Honestly, I do think that they should be brought up on murder charges. It's so hard to prove, though, but I think that they should be. And what they're pandering to our children, very, very scary. So parents, please be aware of your children, their attitudes, their habits, what they're doing, and who they're hanging out with.
Absolutely. I mean, when I heard that this morning, honestly, it brings tears to my eyes.
21%.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, Gina. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of kids. Stand out in front of Minico or the junior high.
Kids out of 100.
Pardon me?
Kids out of 100.
Yeah.
21 kids out of 100.
And ages 12 to 17. And you think about it, nationwide have tried this garbage, this filth, this killer drug. And for parents not to be alarmed, check your medicine cabinets. Check everything in your house. Make sure that if you have spare cash in the house, make sure it's still there and well hidden. Check your kids. Lay the law down. Be firm. That's better than going to a funeral.
Amen. You've got a phone call.
I'll take that call in just a minute. Stand by, caller. Don't go away. We are so blessed to have Eli and the rest of the crew at Berry Equipment and Rental back on the program, and they've got the Doosan Heavy Dealer. Oh, my goodness, heavy equipment. They've got the loaders and the excavators. They've got several in stock. Now, I'm going to tell you something, boys and girls. The Doosan Heavy Equipment is known all over the world, and it is the best. When it comes to loaders and excavators, it's right there at Berry Equipment and Rental. 2 locations, one on Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, the other right there at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Great location right there on Highway 30. And they've got big price advantages for you, 48-hour parts guarantee. They can help you. You call Eli at Twin Falls to get a salesman to help you. Eli and Berry Equipment and Rental in Twin Falls and Burley. Good people. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Seth. Hey, in 1972, I was on the Enterprise. We come out of Hong Kong, and a day out, they found a kid that in his bunk that had overdosed, and I helped bring him out of the compartment, and he had foam. He was still exuding foam out of his mouth after being dead 8 hours. That sure scares a lot of people. I know it scared me.
Carl, I can't. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you must think you're quite a Puritan or something else. No, I'm not. Far from it. But I can't imagine getting involved in something like that can kill you. Can kill you before the syringe has even emptied all of itself into your veins, as it did with this actor. And when you hear that 21% of kids across the United States, age 12 to 17, are shooting up with heroin, what does that make you think? What's going on in your mind when you hear that?
Well, when I look at it, it's 1 out of every 5 kids are doing this.
Yeah.
Take 5 kids, put them up there, and one of them is doing it. The parents have got to have control.
Amen.
And they've got to know what their kids are doing.
Amen. More parental involvement, not less. Carl, God bless you. How you feeling?
I'm kind of down right now, but I'll get better.
Boy, we're praying for you as always. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, my dear friend. I don't know, that is something that bothers me so much. And when I hear these people say legalization of drugs, wow, I can't handle this. I think that there should be we ought to bring our soldiers back from Afghanistan, and we ought to bring our soldiers back from the Middle East and tell them they have 1 or 2 purposes. Either stop everything at the border, of which a lot of this crap, and I hate using that word because I find it to be a dirty word, but that's exactly what it is, coming across our border, or take care of the city problems. Clean up the cities with this drug abuse. No holds barred, anything goes, get them, get the bad guys, get the pushers, drag them through the streets if you have to, I don't care. But for heaven's sakes, somebody's got to step forward and protect our kids, our future generations. 21%? And it's growing. Whew. Let's have a little weather update with MichaelRogersWeather.com, and it's brought to you this hour by Butte Irrigation. Hello, Bryce and the rest of the crew. They've got 2 locations to serve you, 116 South, 600 west of Paul, and right there, just a little bit north of Kimberly at Red Cap Corner, another location to serve you. Talk to the pros with the answers to your questions about irrigation with Butte Irrigation. I'll tell you what, they've been serving Magic Valley since 1975, and their tagline is the truth. They will get you wet. So talk to them today. Butte Irrigation in Kimberly and Paul. And now here's MichaelRogersWeather.com.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com as we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. To do that, I don't even know what the weather is. Our weather theme for the rest of this week is cool. 20s all the way through Friday. Overnight lows will be probably about the low to mid-teens. Sun and clouds in the forecast all the way through. Let's put a sweater on and enjoy the day and enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
There you go, Michael. Rogers Weather brought to you by our friends at Butte Irrigation. Bryce and the rest of the crew and Paul, and they're at Red Cap Corner in Kimberly. Really nice people. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, I got a scam alert out here for you. Scam alert. Gina, are you right there by your microphone? Let's see if you've had this happen to you. I had one of these calls come in on my cell phone the other day, okay? If you get a call on your landline or your cell phone, and it is a 473 area code, do not call the number back, because it is a phone scam for automatic charges against you. It is a $20 fee. It's going on all across the world with a 473 area code. It is a money phone scam.
Yep. And I've honestly heard of that, and my philosophy is in this. If a phone number, if a number shows up on my phone and I don't know that phone number, and it's outside of the 208 area code, I don't answer it. They can leave a message, and I'll check my messages, and I'll decide whether I'm going to call them back or not.
Well, there you touched on it. I'm to the point, and I know this might sound very selective to some people, but I have to watch some of the calls and some of the time and everything else. If I'm just like you, and I did get one of those calls from a 473 number, if I don't recognize the number and they don't have the decency to leave a message, I have answering machines on every one of my phones. I will not call back just to find out and be inquisitive as to, gee, why did you call? You're going to have to leave a message, and it's got to be legitimized, or I'm not going to even worry about calling you back.
And a lot of times, if I get a phone number coming up on my phone and it's something that I don't recognize from an area code that I don't recognize, I'll Google it, and I will do a reverse phone search and see what comes up. And a lot of times it will tell you whether it's a telemarketing, if it's, they've had complaints on scams and things like that. So always go online and do a reverse telephone search, and you can see exactly the location of where this phone call is coming from.
Once again, the area code that is coming up, and it's really starting to be publicized, probably will be in all the newspapers and on all the networks later on today, 473. It is a scam. Do not call it back. You will be charged a fee minimum, a $20 fee added on, and that money goes right straight to them. Right to them.
I wonder where the 473 area code is coming out of.
You know what I would say, without having the knowledge? Either the Philippines or out of the contiguous United States. That's where a lot of those. That's where a lot of those phone scams stem from. Is like islands off the coast of certain countries. I remember, was it 4 years ago? Remember when they traced all of these phone scams to the land of Guam? Remember that? And that's why I'm wondering, 473. It could be an area code, some island, someplace. It could be. Is it?
Yes, it's coming from the islands of Grenada and
there you
Curacao.
go. There you go. All right. I rest my case. Be careful, folks. There's a lot of evil people out there. Oh, and speaking of evil people, I just want to let you know, and I know you've been very wondering about this, Gina. Yes, it is true that $65 million is going to go in the form of bonuses to the wonderful, illustrious, hard-working employees of the IRS.
What?
Yep. After all the mess, after all the insidious mess with the IRS and their slovenly business practices and everything else, and now the IRS has put together a package of over $65 million to award bonuses to their employees. Don't you feel warm and fuzzy that part of your dollars are going to help?
Since when did government agencies get bonuses?
I am so frustrated by this, and I don't understand. I do not understand why the American public, I do not understand why our congressmen, our senators, everybody is absolutely not livid about this, but yes, they are giving bonuses again now to their employees totaling $65 million.
Well, I don't want my money going towards bonuses on an agency that really shouldn't even exist in the first place.
Bingo! We have a call?
Yep.
Okay, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bell.
How are you?
I am wonderful, thank you. How about you?
My needle hasn't got to wonderful. It's at really good, but it's not at wonderful.
It will be soon.
Okay, all right.
Hey, talking about these phone scams, I had one the other day, and I don't know if anybody else has gotten one or not, but when I answered my cell phone, this lady who could not even speak hardly any English was telling me that she worked for the federal government and they are giving away $7,000 gifts. And she needed to verify my name, my phone number, my address. And she went into this big spiel, and then she come back and she said, now, if you'll just verify your name, I already said my name. She goes, okay, I need your phone number. I said, well, you called me on my phone.
There you go.
So you apparently have my phone number. Anyway, she went down the list, and she was getting really peeved at me because I would not, verify the information.
You should have done one other thing, and that's hung up.
I did. When she started yelling at me, I just turned it off. I basically just wanted to hear what she had to say, and it's like, no, if you actually work for the federal government, you already have that information.
Absolutely.
But there's all kinds of scams going on, and people, especially elderly people, who really, they're so trusting and everything. You really need to be very conscious of what the people are saying, and look at the phone numbers, and just take into account if it quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Well, one of my favorite things to do, and my wife looks at me out of the corner of her eye every time I do this, but when a salesperson calls me at like 8 o'clock at night, and I'm in my geezer chair, and they go, Mr. Bell, we need to ask you some questions, and then we represent so-and-so and all this. I'll always say to them, can you hang on just for a split second? I'll be right back on the line. Certainly, Mr. Bell. And then what I do is turn the TV up and start watching more of the program. And then a half hour later, I'll check and see if they're still there.
Yeah, I usually hang up.
Oh, I like to play with their minds a little bit, to the point where they might consider jumping out basement windows.
Yeah.
Okay, see you later.
Well, have a wonderful day, my friend.
I will, thank you very much. Quick call, and then I got to do a commercial. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. A few days ago, Dal got a call, and he couldn't understand the person. I said, give the phone to me. So when they got on, they started in on me, and I said, just a minute. I want your name, your Social Security number. I want your address. I want your age. And I went through all of this. I had dare.
Helen, if even though we're friends, if you called and demanded all that information of me, I'd give it to you because you scare me to death.
Hey, I love you, Zeb. Have a good day.
I love you too. Thank you. Oh my, I love that lady. Hey, don't forget the Founders Celebration going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers in honor of Mr. Les Schwab, one of the greatest entrepreneurs that this nation has ever known, and I mean that. I was so blessed to have met him years ago up in Prineville, Oregon. Well, the Founders Celebration is going on now, and they've got super, super low prices on certain tires for you, your pickups, SUVs, your cars, and they got also some great special offers like $50 off custom wheels when you buy a new set of 4, or how about $25 off brakes when you buy a rear brake job. Hey, listen, they really care, and they provide the best of service and safety for your vehicle. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy, oh my, the world's best Seahawk fan, on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Really nice people. I noticed, I got to get this in real quick, and this is nice, and I'm glad, and I stand up and salute State Representative James Holtzclaw from Meridian. This legislator took 5 minutes yesterday to encourage honoring the 60th anniversary of the addition of Under God to the Pledge of Allegiance yesterday up at our state legislature. And the quote was, "Let's commemorate its 60th anniversary to allow Idahoans to learn more about their history. Congratulations to State Representative James Holtzclaw of Meridian." And the committee voted unanimously to pass the resolution, and the bill now goes to the House floor. God bless them for honoring Under God in our Pledge of Allegiance. And I mean that. Thank you. We need more people like him. Now, coming up next hour, we're going to be talking to Jeff Dickens with the CRC, and we're going to be talking about the prejudicial treatment on national news with networks that absolutely hate Republicans, they hate conservatives, and they will do anything they can to denigrate them, and we're going to have Jeff Dickens on talking about that. Then at 9:30 this morning, and I can remember, it's been a year ago, Sharon Hardy Mills was visiting with me on the program about, important documents and everything, where you need to put them and store them and make sure they're safe, that in an emergency you can grab them and go. Well, there's a lady that's put together a kind of a unique situation called Grab and Go. Her name is Mary Roberry from Utah, and we're going to be talking to her coming up at about 9:30. I'll see you back in 6. Don't go away. I do not grow tired of listening to that bumper music with that piano in there and everything. I love that. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and thanks to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. I love my pillow. They've got those memory foam pillows over there, and they are fantabulous. And our dear friends with Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho,
Hey, by the way, Western Waste Services, including all the porta potties and the garbage route service and everything else, now they've got the minis. That's right, they offer the mobile storage units. Go Minis, portable storage units for contractors, real estate agents, on-site and off-site storage. Hey, I'm telling you, big 20-foot containers to provide better and faster service. And for moving, for renovations, for storage, for emergencies, you better call them right now at Western Waste Services, 734-6969. And we're going to have old Kelly on the air talking to us about this in the next couple of days. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And by golly, don't forget to, some people that really, really care And that's, of course, Joel Heward and his staff at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636, locally owned and operated by Joel Heward and his staff, and always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. And they believe that every life is worth remembering, and they want to serve you and your family the way you want to be served. Please call them today, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary, serving you. We've got a gentleman coming on the air right now that I don't believe has been on my program before, but we're going to check it out real quick. And I believe we have with us Mr. Jeff Dickens with CRC Public Relations. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show, Zeb.
Is this the first time you've been on my program?
I'm not sure. It might be, yeah.
Okay, well, welcome to the throng, and good to have you here this morning. I've got a question for you, and you know what I'm going to be talking about. Why is there such prejudicial treatment in the news media today, whether it's NBC, CBS, ABC, it doesn't make any difference. Why is there such prejudicial treatment against conservatives versus liberals and Democrats? Tell me why.
Well, I think it starts with who's in those roles, whether there's a producer role, whether it's a reporter role, an anchor role. These are men and women that have a liberal bent. They came through liberal journalism schools, and they believe in this, the ethic of going after conservatives and supporting Democrats like Barack Obama. I mean, it's amazing. We've studied the past, the entirety of the Obama administration. The media has been so in the tank. They're reluctant to report on its scandals, and it's a trend that's not just extended to Obama, but of course Democrats in office. We just recently did a study that looked at how network news labels Republicans and Democrats caught in scandals, and it's interesting. Yes, there are Democrats that get caught in scandals, and there are Republicans that get caught in scandals, but it's interesting that it's rare that when a Democrat gets caught in a scandal, like, for example, Ray Nagin, the former mayor of New Orleans, who's on trial for bribery charges right now, they rarely delabeled him. But just recently, you had a Florida Republican congressman, Trey Radel, who resigned for cocaine possession, and every story that they had on him, they labeled him a Republican. It's interesting.
All right, now, Jeff, I don't mean to be harsh, but I got to ask you this again. Mm-hmm. Really, you didn't answer my question. Why? I mean, why has journalism got away from fair, balanced, honest reporting? Why have they shifted over to the liberal left slant? For what benefit? To whose benefit? To why are they doing this?
Well, I think what you'll see is another reason you see is you have a revolving door situation where you'll have Jay Carney, who used to work for Newsweek, who used to work for CNN, and then and while he was there, he did very positive stories towards liberal causes, towards Democratic politicians. Oh, and interesting, he gets a job in the White House as the White House press secretary. That's one reason, just pure ambition, just wanting to be involved. But I think what you see mostly is liberals who have an agenda to push, and one of the areas they go in is journalism. In other areas, of course, you'll see them in Hollywood and in the arts community. But yeah, that is what you see.
All right, now, did you catch the O'Reilly and Obama interview on Super Bowl Sunday?
Oh, yes.
All right, now,
I'm glad. One of the rare times Barack Obama actually had some hard questions to answer.
All right, now let's pick this apart a little bit, okay? Number one, Obama, his body language, and I'm not an expert, but I know people that are, and I've talked to many people, his body language was on defense with a moat and a wall built around him against the facts. Number two, Obama lied on a lot of facts. There was a lot of fact-checking going on, and Obama lied or misled the American public on some of his answers. And number three, instead of giving direct answers at least three times, with his big toothy grin and his narrowed eyes, he blamed Fox for any of his scandals and why they're still in front of the public. Now, how would you respond to that if you could give a 15-minute speech to Barack Obama right now personally in the Oval Office? What would you tell him about that meeting with O'Reilly last Sunday?
Well, I would say, how does it feel to actually get questions from a news organization that isn't committed to advancing your agenda and sucking up to you? It's interesting. The questions, Bill O'Reilly's questions weren't even that tough. They were just sort of just straightforward. Hey, there's questions on the scandals that Obama has dealt with over the past year, and that really haven't been fully answered, particularly by Barack Obama himself. And I would say to the president, just step up and be accountable. Be accountable for what happened in Benghazi. Be accountable for what the IRS has been doing in terms of targeting the Tea Party. Instead of just like, it's blaming some sort of Cincinnati office. Well, no, more and more information has come out to show that there are ties to the White House. This is only information that you see on Fox News or on conservative outlets like your talk show or conservative websites. And occasionally Cheryl Atkinson at CBS News will do a story that's pretty good. But for the most part, the big three news networks, MSNBC, CNN, they are not doing these stories. And they've let Barack Obama get away with it.
Okay, now, Jeff, you know this because you're closer to these nincompoops that live on the Beltway and around the surrounding area. But I don't understand why more honest, legitimate questions aren't being asked. When I look at some of these goofy reporters, male and female, at a presidential press conference, and they're just all googly-eyed over being in the front row and looking up at the president. One woman reporter in particular, it made me so sick I almost had a flu attack. And they don't ask tough questions. What is wrong with asking a question about why and how 4 Americans died in Benghazi? What is wrong with asking why a Fox News reporter was questioned and interrogated and his whole life was laid on the line, open for public scrutiny? What is wrong for questioning the absolute idiocy of Obamacare? Why can't these other networks step up to the plate and do the same thing?
Well, if you're a liberal, you want to see a liberal succeed. And Barack Obama is a liberal. Most of the media is a liberal. You can see it in their voting patterns. We've here at the MRC, you can go to our website, mrc.org, newsbusters.org. You'll see that every time the journalists are polled, they vote 90% for the Democratic presidential candidate. Why do you want to attack your friends?
Yeah.
or somebody you want to be your friend. And that's what's so amazing, too, is that Barack Obama, all the reports are that he's not even all that friendly to journalists that want to help him out, or even Democrats. But they are so sycophantic. They keep covering up for him.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. And this is a blunt question. Is America today so naive and basically stupid that they're not concerned with being told the truth?
I think it depends on depends on the person. I mean, sadly, what we see is instead of covering the scandals and doing their jobs and doing hard news, you turn on the Today Show or Good Morning America, and they'll talk about Justin Bieber and his latest arrest, or all this celebrity infotainment that passes for news shows. Look, I think a lot of it, if I can get deep on it, I think a lot of it goes to public education system. I think liberals have, they've taken over a lot of the institutions, and one of those institutions is the public education system. And, young people, they don't learn their history, they don't learn the Constitution. So when you have an administration that just completely ignores and bypasses the Constitution, you have a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of people out there that just, they don't, Constitution, what's the Constitution? They don't even know.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. No, I totally agree with you that there's been a whitewashing and also kind of a censorship in education. But I want to go back to something that wasn't said in the interview with O'Reilly. And by the way, I'm not a Bill O'Reilly fan. I think Bill O'Reilly sometimes is a hot bag of air that likes to bloviate on sometimes subjects that he has no knowledge on. But in this case, I got to give him an A for effort of trying to pinpoint some of the questions. I thought he did a good job. But when it came to Kathleen Sebelius, I honestly thought that he let Obama off the hook, because the question was phrased as to why are the American people still paying her wages, basically, when she has been a total mess up with Obamacare. And he avoided that question, and O'Reilly let him off the hook. What are your thoughts?
Right, and I don't think it's just Sebelius. I think it's more systemic. I mean, I understand that this kind of attempt to socialize the healthcare system is bound to fail. It's unsustainable. You can see what's going on in Western Europe right now, in old Europe, as the phrase says. But yeah, I think O'Reilly, maybe he needed more time. I don't know why you let him off the hook on that, but that's, I think he did. You're right.
Okay, now what can people do? You mentioned education before, and I want to hold your feet to the fire on this a little bit, Jeff. What can we do to start bringing more of an honest, that's a novel idea, honest approach to news and journalism in the colleges and universities across this country, and basically also the high schools before they get to higher education? What would you tell people that they can do, should do, or absolute demand that parents do? What's the answer there, Jeff?
I'll tell you, it's really as simple as one-to-one conversations. If you're a parent and your child comes home with a history book or comes back with a paper and it's full of all sorts of liberal propaganda, or hey, this is what the teacher told me today. You need to sit them down and you need to give them the real history. Make sure that, home education is very important. And then, be nice, be friendly, but go to the teacher and say, could you please present this side of the story? If you have neighbors that are, you're not interested in politics or maybe they're liberal, talk to them friendly. Use websites, conservative websites, and as ammo for information. Tell them to listen to Zeb. Tell them to listen to Rush. Tell them to listen to Mark Levin, whoever. You get a good education, even just going through all these different sources. But I think it's slowly but surely, it's one-to-one. You can use social networking, Twitter, Facebook, what have you. But yes, it's a lot of what needs to be done is education of the public, and a lot of that is just face-to-face discussion.
Let me give you a classic example, because I want you to respond to this. Do you ever read USA Today?
Yes, on occasion.
All right. Yesterday, and I subscribe to the Wall Street Journal and the USA Today and a whole bunch of papers to find out what they're doing. Yesterday, on their op-ed page, they had an op-ed part of it that said, time to OK oil pipeline. They're talking about Keystone, and then a question mark. Now, here's what they said in the sub-headline, and then I'm going to give you the facts. The sub-headline said, Americans narrowly support the controversial Keystone XL pipeline. Then they showed a graph over a little bit further on in the story, and it's almost 60% of Americans are in favor of the Keystone and 40% are opposed. That is not narrowly supporting, Jeff.
I know. That's staggering. I need to go look at that. Thanks for, oh, wow, narrow.
And this is why I'm so upset, because the American public is being led by the nose by a very liberal press that absolutely can contort and distort the facts, and it's also going on in our school system. What's it going to be like in 20 years, my friend?
Well, look, we can't, we as conservatives and we as Americans that respect the Constitution and respect the founding principles, we can't just lay down and let it happen anymore. I mean, again, people must get active, must go to, like I said, websites like newsbusters.org, listen to shows like your show, and get the message out. Don't be afraid to talk to your neighbors, talk to teachers, supervisors. Homeschool, for goodness sakes. If you're just fed up with public education, then just, homeschool is definitely an avenue. But we as conservatives, and the MRC is a conservative organization, we're out there. We're bringing the fight to the media, and we hope many of your listeners will join us.
All right. Listen, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. Jeff Dickens with CRC. I really appreciate those folks. They're doing a wonderful job. God bless you, man. Have a good one, and I'll call you in the future and have you back, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Very nice man right there, Jeff Dickens with CRC, and we're talking about the prejudicial treatment that liberals get in the news media versus the conservatives. It's absolutely appalling. Oh, let's pay some bills here real quick. How about we talk about Cameron and Siemens Insurance? Now, here's the deal. You always, and I'm the same way, you always put your insurance needs or wants or whatever you need for coverage on the back burner and go, well, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, I'll do it next week. You can't do that. You've got to make sure you're protected with your life insurance, your health insurance, your retirement planning, employee benefits. And I'm telling you that Dean Cameron and Todd Siemens, they are the professionals and they're dedicated to serving you. So call them today at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really nice people. Oh, happy Valentine's Day from the bookstore at 515 5th Street in Rupert. Oh, did you hear? The other day I was talking about this. The bookstore over in Rupert has caramel-filled chocolate hearts. Are you kidding me? Caramel-filled chocolate hearts. I got to get one of those for Deanne. Of course, it might not make it all the way home. And they've got all kinds of different fudge, and they got all your Valentine's Day cards, and they got your books, and they've got all your shopping right there for your honey for Valentine's Day at the bookstore, 515 5th Street in Rupert. Oh, and don't forget, too, another happy Valentine's Day story, Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. Oh, man, you can really have some great meals. Take your sweetie into Perkins and try a 10-ounce cut of prime rib or shrimp or chicken pasta, creamy Alfredo. Oh, she's going to just look across the table at you with dreamy eyes and give you a great big smack on the forehead. I mean, with her lips, not her hand. And she's just going to love you for it. So stop in and have a great meal at Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley for Valentine's Day. Okay? Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, I got to tell you a sad story. Are you there? She's probably on the phone. I want to tell you a sad story. Have you ever been to New York City?
No.
I have, many, many times. And one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done while in New York City with my lovely bride and myself is got on one of the horse-drawn carriages and taken a tour around downtown Manhattan, etc.
Okay.
The new mayor, excuse me, his name is Bill de Blasio. He is stopping it. He's stopping all the horse-drawn carriages. He calls them outdated and inhumane.
They're not outdated. They're not inhumane. It's getting the horses exercise, and it's a great tourist attraction for the city.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. You've hit all the points there. The people that have been involved in the horse-drawn carriages for years and years and years in New York City have passed the business ownership down to their sons, their daughters, their grandchildren, and we're talking a lot of people that are involved. I think I know horses as good as anybody, and these horses are very well cared for, very well shod, very well fed, and this mayor is an animal rights activist. The new mayor, Bill de Blasio, insists that they go, and he's not going to hear any debate. He says, nope, they're done, that's it, so just watch us get rid of them now.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that is sad, and hopefully people are standing up against this, right?
Oh, boy. Yeah, there's a lot of conflagration about this, and I personally am going to send a letter back there to de Blasio and let him know what kind of a Hitleristic approach it is to something that he himself deems outdated and inhumane. And believe me, when you talk about inhumane, farthest thing from the truth. He's a liar, and there's other words I'd like to associate with the man, but it's going to hurt a lot of people, and it's going to hurt an environment that has been in New York City for over 100 years.
Exactly. And you know, I think that, see, if I ever went there, that would be one of the things I wanted to go do, because it's kind of like the romantic side of it. Oh,
you'd love it. You'd love it.
You know, the old school New York. And so he's taking away, number one, a tourist attraction, something that romanticizes the city and its charm.
You know,
because he's an animal rights activist, really.
Yeah, but when he makes his demands and says, I'm not going to listen to anybody, I'm not going to have any debate at the city council, I just said they're going to go, they're outdated and they're inhumane, and that's it, end of story, put a period at the end of the sentence, this man is, believe me, he's way off base.
When did New York become like a dictatorship?
Well, of course, you can go back to Bloomberg with that.
Well,
but,
yeah, I know, but you know, you've got to have it go up in front of the city council. It has to be open up for debate. It's not like he can just sign an executive order.
He basically said, "That's it, end of story. They're not appropriate anymore past 2014. They're going. They're out of here. Goodbye."
Well, I think hopefully there's going to be enough people that stand up against this and push him back on
I
it.
hope so. I've got to pay some. I got to pay some bills, and then I'll come back to you. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget Lease Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Brant and the rest of the crew with all your furniture. Oh, my goodness, they've got all your sofas, and they've got your recliners, and they've got all your carpet, and they've got all your floor coverings, and they've got all your bedroom sets, and all your mattresses. Oh, by the way, when I talk about that, bedroom sets, mattresses, I love My Pillow. Yes, they have the hypoallergenic, antimicrobial, super soft pillows. New advanced technology, memory foam is the secret. I love My Pillow. You will too. Stop in and check them out at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Really nice people. And by the way, too, there's a big Valentine's special going on at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Are you aware of this? You better get over there. They're going to have a lovebird sale. Oh, it's so comfy and cozy. Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Don't forget the big lovebird sale, February 3rd. It's going on right now through the 14th. They're going to have a lot of things on sale, like all the bird feeding seed and the bird houses and the bird bells, 25% off. And you can register to win a lovebird evening for two. Oh, just like two pigeons sitting on the branch together. Win a $50 gift certificate and a one-night stay at the historic downtown Drift Inn for two. You're going to love it. It's fantastic. And all clothing and jewelry and slippers and belts, 25% off. Oh, take your lovey into Valleywide Home and Ranch for the lovebird sale. Or Highway 24 in Rupert. Okay? Let's go to the phone lines right now and talk to a lady that is very organized, and that's how she makes her living, is being organized. And she's got the essential document grab and go organizer, and I'm going to have on the air with me right now Mary Robury. And Mary, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for the invitation. I'm excited to be on your show.
Thank you very much. You know, I am probably, Mary, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most disorganized people sometimes for important documents. And where did you put that contract? Where did you put that bank statement? Where did you put this? Where did you put the licenses for this, the horse trailer, etc.? Help me, Mary. I'm going down the drain. I'm not organized.
Well, I've got a question for you. What would you take if you had minutes to flee your house?
So
with my book, I have put together a workbook that has 12 sections that helps you gather all your important documents. That way you have it in one spot. My book has 12 different sections, starting with emergency contacts, family information, home and auto information, personal tax information, personal finances, personal possessions, your pet information, your wills and trust, funeral planning, emergency plans, emergency funds, and miscellaneous.
Wow, now stop right there.
This book...
Stop right there, Mary. Yeah, stop right there, because now you got me hooked. If you've got a book that explains all of this and how I can become more efficient in a grab-and-go situation, I want a book right now. I mean, this sounds so good to me. Let's talk about this. When you put this all together, this book, Grab and Go, where did you get the ideas and how did you come up with the answers for each one of those categories?
Oh, that's a great question. I have been in the insurance field for over 25 years. And along with being in the insurance field, I've been involved in our community when it comes to emergency preparedness. So I took the two ideas of handling insurance claims and what people need in the event of filing an insurance claim and my emergency preparedness experience. I decided to put this together in this book because I felt that there was definitely a disconnect between insurance adjusters and their insureds. And let me give you an example. We live in the Heroin community of southwestern part of Salt Lake City, Utah. And we've been involved in two major fires in the last couple of years. And I mean, we were within minutes of being evacuated, and here I am sitting in my home that I love so much, thinking, oh my gosh, what do I need to take in the event of an emergency situation? And I realized, hindsight, after the fire and seeing the claims come in from the fire, how much people were missing when it came to documentation to prove what they had in their homes. And I feel that it's extremely important for we as insureds to make sure that we have enough documentation to prove our case and to be made as whole as possible again.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I'm not just blowing smoke here, figuratively speaking. I think this is an absolutely wonderful book and a great concept. Let's kind of talk a little bit about some of the categories, like emergency contacts. Now, explain what you mean with emergency contacts.
Okay, emergency contacts. You know, we're all very comfortable with our cell phones and our, you know, putting in our phone numbers in our cell phones and so forth. But if an emergency did occur, that cell phone could be out of electricity, whatever the case may be, and we are lacking our contacts. So I feel that it's important for us to document some major phone calls in this section. For example, my in-laws live in Idaho, so in my emergency contacts, I would put my in-laws down because they're out of state. And we need, you know, if we're making a phone call in the event of emergency situation, we might not be able to call just down the street. However, we can call out of state.
Okay.
So I think it's important to have emergency contacts out of state so we can be in contact with our loved ones, and then, you know, also knowing that we're you know, safe in that respect. And along with those emergency contacts, you know, I put in there, you know, it's important to have your local physician's phone number, you know, local hospital, you know, fire department or police department, whatever the case may be. I know you dial 911, but, sometimes just a local number is much better than 911 in that respect. So, does that make sense?
Absolutely. You've really detailed it. And then, I don't want to give away a lot from the book, but I want to just highlight some of these items because I think this is phenomenal. I'm going to buy one. I'm going to follow your program. Family information. Now, what would that entail? Maybe like their telephone numbers and their age? I mean, what kind of information are you going to put in there?
Well, basically, I document each family member, like myself, my husband, my children, all their important documents. And this is where you gather your documents, your passports, your Social Security cards, your birth certificates, all that information. You grab that, and basically you put it all together, and then when you're done with all this information, it goes into a binder. It goes into a grab-and-go binder. That way you can grab it in a moment's notice. But, a lot of people do not have this documentation, like you said, in one place. So I think it's important to have everything detailed. The description of the person, their fingerprints, a piece of hair to show what, DNA, dental work. Have you had braces? Do you wear glasses? Are you diabetic? Are you, in need of any high blood pressure medication? All of that is documented individually within this section.
Holy cow. I mean, you've put a lot of thought in this. How long did it take you to put together all the questions and answers for this book?
It took me about 2.5 years. Wow. With all the, proofing and so forth, because we added more to the grab and go when I went with my publisher, Cedar Fort Publishing, and so forth. But it took about 2.5 years. But keep in mind, I work full time. I am currently a claims manager for a very large insurance agency here in Utah, and you keep pretty busy. You work all day and then you type all night.
The one
a little bit longer.
A couple of things that really stand out and hit me in the face of the categories are wills and trust information, funeral planning information, and emergency plans. Now, I'm not quite sure if I understand the emergency plans. So those three, explain those if you would, please.
Okay. Well, wills and trusts, obviously, we need to have documentation that in the unfortunate loss of a husband or a wife or, whatever the case may be. And if we've got children, any family members that we want to leave anything to, we have got to have that documented. And especially in the fact if you've got small children at home and you're tragically taken, it's important to have documentation. That way the state realizes what your requests are for your children, and also in your extended family would know what you would want in the case of your demise and so forth. So it's important to have that documentation available in that binder. That way, somebody knows what your last thoughts are. And keeping in mind, I have a 14-year-old, and my 14-year-old knows where my grab-and-go binder is, and she knows where to go for the information if something happened to my husband or myself.
All right,
in that respect.
Let me interrupt you.
Don't hesitate. Go ahead.
No, I was going to interrupt you, and it's very rude of me, but you made a point there, and I didn't want to let it slide by. On the keeping of the grab-and-go, the file, where is the safest place? Because here's something else that's subject to fire and or loss, so where do you store this so it's protected?
Okay, and that is an awesome question. So my thought in this binder is not to only have one copy of this binder, but to have two. Okay, it's important to have, I would say, all your proofs in your house at all times. Okay, and obviously in the binder you're not going to put Rowberry family on the back of the binder. You're going to put a keyword, that way you know what it is, or your an older child might know what it is. You keep it somewhere in your house that you feel that would be safe, and it would be out of somebody coming in and stealing it. Okay, the second one, I would recommend that you keep the copy within a distance from your home. Like I said, we were involved in major fires out here. Do not keep it close to home. My in-laws live in Idaho. I could just leave a copy with them because I feel it's safe. and so forth. That way it's off premises and a ways away, just in case, an event occurs that, it's destroyed at your house.
Would this be a good...
It's important to have that documentation because how long does it take to replace your Social Security card?
Oh, my.
You need a Social Security card. You need a birth certificate to get a new driver's license.
Yeah.
So it's important to have those documents, but away from your home.
Mary, let me ask you a question. Would it be also smart, and I'm grabbing at a straw here, but I just happen to think, to maybe rent a bank safety deposit box and put that in? Or, I mean, that's another question I had.
Well, you could, but once again, don't have it close to your home. You need to have it a ways away from your home because, let's say we live in an earthquake, Salt Lake City is an earthquake territory.
Yes.
You do not want to have your information in close proximity. You need to have it a distance away. That way it's kept safe and in a different area.
What's been the response of this book and also the filing system since this book came out? Have you had any stories about people calling you or writing you with their responses and their thank yous for somebody to help them get organized?
Oh, I've had quite a few thank yous. The book was just released in August, so this has just been a phenomenal, situation. Seeing the results of, what it's becoming. It's just been nice because people come up to me and they say, "Thank you so much for the information," because I would not have thought of it before, and each class that I teach, I get major responses and more invites to come in and speak at, different functions, whatever the case may be, to help enlighten people when it comes to their grab-and-go, binder and so forth. But, if it's okay, I'd really like to share with you my thought when it comes to personal possession information and how important it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm an insurance adjuster. I've been an insurance adjuster for 25 years. Once again, it is so important for insureds to document everything that they have in their house. That is how they prove their case. So I recommend people go room to room when it comes to taking pictures of anything and everything in their house and then getting that on a CD and put it in your binder along with your documentation. That way, if you, heavens forbid, you have a major fire, you have the documentation. You can go to your insurance agent and say, "Here, file a claim for me. Here's the proof of what I have in my house."
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Now tell me and all my audience, Grab and Go, Essential Document Organizer, where do they get them and how much are they?
Okay, they're available through Amazon.com. They're available at, through Glenbeck Marketplace, Barnes & Noble, and lots of other local stores. They've got Deseret Book, Siegel Book, different stores like that. But probably the best would be Amazon or Glenbeck Marketplace, and it's running about anywhere from $11.99 to $12.99, depending on the buyer, on the store.
I have got to have a copy of this book. I definitely want to use your ideas and your material because I am the least organized of anybody you've ever met in your life, and I just think this is absolutely essential for everybody to know about. And any final thoughts on the Grab and Go?
You asked me about the funeral planning and so forth, and that's another thing. I mean, it's important for us to document what our last wishes are when it comes to, our last rites and so forth. And you never know when it's going to happen, and it's important just to have it documented what you want when it comes to your funeral, and so forth. And then. Well, just a short time, but it's just a fantastic idea, if I can say so myself. It just helps us be more prepared when it comes to getting everything organized and in one spot. And, I don't think that it would be, what's my thought on this? I think it's a good idea just to have everything together.
I do too.
you won't be hurting in the end. You'll be prepared and have better results unfortunately if you have a loss or lose a loved one.
Let me ask you one final thought here, and I'm wondering which category this would fall into, but I'm sure that you've already thought of this, but what about credit card numbers in case you have your billfold lost, your purse lost, whatever, credit card numbers? How would you file that? Where would you file that so that you could call the credit card companies and try to get a reestablishment of a new card?
Okay, that's an awesome question. Okay, there's a personal finance section, and basically it goes into, listing your credit cards and so forth. Unfortunately, people have their purses stolen and so forth, so, you'd have peace of mind being able to come home and go straight to your grab-and-go binder and say, you know what, Mr. Credit Card Company, I just had my purse or my wallet stolen, and here is the information. So having all this documented, in the grab-and-go binder would give you peace of mind that at least you could, go straight home and call the bank and let them know immediately what has transpired. So, and then, and one thing I wanted to bring up is the fact that, I had a friend's dad that died of a massive heart attack, and he had all the information when it came to checking accounts and all the finances and so forth. So in this respect, it's important for the spouse or the loved one to know what this information is in the case of, somebody dying immediately or, or let's say even somebody going overseas in the military. You've got all their finance information and so forth, and you can go ahead and proceed with any kind of business that you need to do. But in this section, the personal finance section is where you would document all the checking accounts, savings accounts, the credit card numbers, and so forth. And then that way it's safekeeping, and if you need it in a moment's notice, it is there.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole idea of the grab and go. If you need it in a moment's notice, it is there, it's prepared, and it takes a couple of hours. You got to get all your information together, but you can pre-fill all these papers, put it in a plastic sleeve, put it in a 2-inch binder along with your CD with all your documentation, and it becomes your grab-and-go binder.
And I would imagine...
that would be my recommendation.
I would imagine, too, Mary, that a recommendation from you would be that this could also be very good for year-end tax information, to go to your accountant, and then also you need to update it, I would say, every year, don't you?
That is correct. I recommend, well, in the family information section, I have, you need to put pictures of yourself and your family in there. As adults, we don't change that much through the year, but, as children, they change, every 6, I would recommend updating their pictures every 6 months. And going back to the tax question, I would recommend you have at least 5 years of your taxes in this book. And it's really nice now because a lot of accountants will give your taxes to you on a CD as well as a hard copy. So you can put your CD in your grab-and-go binder and have your documentation, if needed in a moment's notice and so forth. And, along with this documentation, you would obviously have your accountant's phone number and information in here as well.
I'll tell you something, Mary, having you on the program, it really made me cognizant about how slovenly my organizational skills are, and it's going to change. Mary Rollbury with the Grab and Go Essential Document Organizer, thank you for being on the program. I've got to get a copy of the book. I've got to adhere to your principles. I think it's absolutely a necessity. I wish you a lot of success on the sale of this, and thank you for all your ideas.
Okay, thanks so much, and you have a great day.
You too. God bless. Have a good one. I'll tell you, folks, this is a great idea. Gee willikers. I mean, all the information into one, like she calls it, a grab and go. boy, if I had to run in, this is embarrassing, but if I had to run into this office today and say, where's such and such, and in a hurry, well, I'd be here for about a month trying to find it. This is an excellent idea, and I'm so glad I had her on the program. Mary Rollbury, and it's called Grab and Go, and it's available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Glenbeck Marketplace, and eBooks. Whew, you got to check that out. Excellent thought. Gina, what do you think about that? Have you got all your papers and everything, all your essential goodies in one single place?
I do. Mostly I do, but honestly what she was saying, I'm thinking, maybe I need to be just a little bit more organized than what I already am. But I do have all of my pertinent documents in a specific place in my house, but I don't have extra copies. I don't have extra copies of all of my contacts. So, yeah, she gave me a lot to think about.
Can you imagine? Now sit there in the chair, and I want you to take both hands, and I want you to put them under your chin in a very pensive-looking, thought-filled moment, and think what it would do to change my personality to be that organized.
That would be Deanne's job.
I think you're right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm going to try, though. I am going to try. I think this is a great idea.
I think that everybody needs to be a little bit more organized because you never know. Accidents do happen. You need to be prepared for this. And so the information that she has out there is so valuable. So honestly, I think that's what I'm going to be working on maybe this afternoon.
I'll tell you what, though.
Clark on the phone for you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be right there. We've got to have a quick weather update before I take the call. Here's MichaelRogersWeather.com.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com as we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. To do that, I don't even know what the weather is. Our weather theme for the rest of this week is cool. 20s all the way through Friday. Overnight lows will be probably about the low to mid-teens. Sunny clouds in the forecast all the way through. Let's put a sweater on and enjoy the day and enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
There you go, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
A little last month with my phone bill, I received stop telemarketers from calling you, and they give an 800 number that I think everybody ought to have.
Okay.
It's 1-888-382-1222.
All right, let me repeat that. 1-888-382-1222 to basically stop telemarketers from bugging and bothering you.
Right, and you have to do that on each phone. You can do it on your cell phones and on your home phone.
Okay.
Landline.
Carl, what did you... I thought that lady was so well-spoken regarding grab and go and having all the documents. I am the world's worst at being organized like that. I thought that was a fantastic idea, what she's put together.
You know, it is a fantastic idea. And the one thing that I've heard people say that their pictures, they lose their pictures in fire flood. And the one thing you can do is put your albums in a suitcase. And then when you go, you can just grab that suitcase and you've got them and go.
See, now that's another great idea. Holy buckets, am I ever learning something here today. Carl, God bless you. Have a good day.
I want you to have a fantastic day, and God bless.
All right, buddy, thanks. I'm telling you, I just think that's a great idea. I'm not making it up either. I need to get organized. And once you've been in this office, you can see why I've made that statement. Now, Gina, just calm down. You don't have to add to that statement. I know you're giggling.
I will zip it. I will zip it.
I can just imagine the remarks you'd like to make.
Hey, we all need to be a little bit more organized, so it's true.
You know, I'm going to go get one of those. I'm going to get the book, I'm going to get the organizer, and I'm going to do what the book tells me to do. I'm going to do that. And Carl's idea about a little suitcase with your family photos, I like that idea.
I honestly like that idea, too, because I'm sure just like you, my photo albums are like my life. I mean, that is our family history. And so if anything happened to those, I would be honestly devastated.
Well, like my walls. I mean, I'd have to go and get a chainsaw and quickly cut down my walls and throw them in the back of the pickup because all my pictures are up there.
I don't see you using the chainsaw. I see Deanne doing that.
Me and a chainsaw, we have some interesting times together, I'll tell you that. All right.
Sure you do.
Oh, yes. Hey, let's ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, open Tuesdays through Saturdays, and they've got all your ATVs over there. Holy cow. They've just filled that showroom to the point where you just got little walking paths between all the ATVs and all the snow machines and all the dirt bikes and all the street bikes. It is something else. And they've got all the accessories over there, and they've got the best parts department anywhere. Those guys know how to fix problems. Let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. It's true. It's true. That's where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. You stop over, see them today. Nice people. Let's see what else have I got going here that I've got to remind you. Oh, this real quick, and put this on your calendar because it's not that far away. The Minnecasia Lincoln Day Luncheon. I'm hoping I'll be able to walk good enough to go to this. Boy, by then, it's March 1st. It's about 3 weeks away. The Minnecasia Lincoln Day Luncheon will be held on Saturday, March 1st at 2 p.m. at Maury's Steakhouse in Burley. And I get a chance to visit with some really, really nice friends at that Lincoln Day banquet. I'm looking forward to it. Once again, it's going to be on Saturday, March 1st at 2 p.m. at Maury's Steakhouse. Don't you miss it, okay? Let's see, next hour, we have our dear friend, Dr. History. So stay tuned for that. Caller, I got exactly 30 seconds, real fast.
Give yourself enough credit, buddy. I seen you swing your rope. I'm pretty sure you can swing yourself that decent.
I appreciate it, my friend. God bless you, and thanks for your call. Be safe out there, all right?
You too.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Dr. History is coming up in just a few minutes, and then at 10:32, I'm going to ask Dan Kish, why or maybe when will Obama break down and sign the approval for the Keystone Pipeline? We're going to find out. Don't go away. I'll be back in 6. Cold outside. Gonna snow maybe tomorrow. Hey, listen, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. Welcome back, hour number 3. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers, including, of course, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Oberlin and Burley. I love my pillow. They've got the memory foam pillows over there. Fantabulous. And, of course, our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly 734-6969. Oh, are you hungry? Well, I know a place to go. A great place to go. I love their Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. I do. The Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley, and today's special is spaghetti with meatballs and garlic toast. Going to be so good. You stop in. You're going to love the food. You're going to love the people. You're going to love the environment. I love looking at all the pictures and everything in there. The Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, you know that Tuesdays, one of my favorite days, because we get a chance to step into the archives of history. We need to step back and find out about what really happened years ago with all the historical and hysterical figures in history. And here, covering both of those words, hysterical and historical, is the inimitable Dr. History.
I feel like I should be stepping out onto a stage.
Well, you should.
Well, if we weren't calling by phone, I would.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Well, good.
It's a little cold and snowy out there today.
Did you say cold and smelly or snowy?
snowy.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I put my right guard on. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening in the world?
How you doing?
I am fantastic, and I always look forward to having you on the air because we're going to learn something for the next 28 minutes that we didn't know before you started. So please, pray tell, sir, who are we going to talk about this morning?
Well, last week we talked about the medicine man, or also he was called the shaman of the Indian tribes.
Right.
And we talked a little bit about how, what they did. A lot of times they did some really good things, and, it took 7 years to become a shaman. You had to be schooled under a previous medicine man to become a shaman. And if you weren't very good at your craft, sometimes you and your sons were put to death for witchcraft.
Wow.
So it was a good thing to be a good medicine man. And I don't know if you remember, but last week I also talked about the one particular medicine man that supposedly pulled a live possum out of the chief's body, and the chief got better.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Once you get rid of those possums, how much better you'll feel.
You get better, Nothing worse than a live possum inside of you.
Absolutely.
But, they used herbs and they used nutrition that actually even today there's a lot of those things that they used that are still used in different forms today that they used for, hundreds of years.
Now, you said, just a minute, I want to ask you a question. You said they had to study for 7 years. Now, was this customary tribe by tribe by tribe, the 7-year period of study?
Well, that's kind of a generalization. It may have been different for different tribes, but I've read that in several places that it took 7 years of study under another medicine man before you could be allowed to be a medicine man. So, generally speaking, it took a number of years before you could become officially a medicine man.
Okay.
And also, the medicine man was, as I mentioned previously, was one of the head guys in the tribe. And sometimes he was actually a chief. Like Sitting Bull, some of those guys, they were actually a chief as well. So. But anyway, some Native Americans were skilled in treating trauma, like a bullet and an arrow wound. I mean, after centuries of using the bow and arrow, these native healers, they had more experience with arrow injuries than did the U.S. Army surgeons.
Wow.
And they actually opened perforated and contaminated wounds and actually drained those wounds so they wouldn't become infected. There was an Army surgeon who actually watched and witnessed an Indian doctor remove an embedded arrow, and he described it like this. He said the medicine man would take a willow stick. Okay, now picture this. He would split the willow stick down the center, and the ends would be curved. So he had this two-pronged stick, and this was used to probe the arrow, the shaft, and he would track until down into the body, until the ends actually covered the barbs of the arrowhead. Now, keep in mind the arrowhead, or the shaft of the arrow had been broken off, but then they would tie the willow around the shaft of the arrow, and then they would just kind of slowly pull the whole thing out.
And naturally, the tribe anesthesiologist had this person completely put out, right?
That's right. Guy was out completely. He didn't feel a thing.
Yeah.
or the medicine man said, "Now this is going to hurt you more than it is me," and it probably did. But
wow.
They also understood the concept of immobilization of fractures and dislocations. In splinting bone fractures, they would use a lot of different materials for splints. Some were kind of unique, like the Shoshones. They would use rawhide that was softened with water, and they would mold it around the fracture site, and when the hide dried, it hardened to form a cast around the fracture or sprain or whatever it was. But there was an Indian by the name of Eagle Shield. He was a Sioux shaman and had for 40 years of experience in treating fractures, and actually developed a really good reputation. I guess you would say he was the orthopedic surgeon of the day. He was quite the bone healer, but he described his system of treatment. If somebody had a broken leg or arm, first he would pull the injured extremity until, as he puts it, the bone slipped into place. So
basically, he was just setting the broken bone, which is not unlike what happens today. So, and then he would immobilize the fracture with some type of immobilization technique, and he would adjust and tighten like a casing each day that was so that as the swelling went down, it would keep the support above and below the fracture.
Now, I got a question here. I have a question.
Okay.
You mentioned a little bit ago that they used soaked rawhide.
Right.
And then it would dry and act like a cast.
Right.
Rawhide also has a tendency when it dries to what happens when the leg falls off?
You mean as it shrinks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they usually had some type of strapping or like lacing of some kind, so that they could adjust it accordingly.
I'll be darned.
So it wasn't actually, really tight on tight, so to speak. I mean,
see.
It was snug, but they would had room so that they could let it out or take it in as they need to.
Do you realize how tough these people?
Guy, this Eagle Shield that had a reputation for helping fractures, like I say, he would set the bone, then he would immobilize it, and at the same time, each day he greased his hands with an herbal ointment and massaged the skin and the muscle around the fracture. And Eagle Shield said that the purpose of this was to keep the muscles from becoming stiff. And again, he was way ahead of his time. Now, while applying this medicine by massage, he sang a special song 4 times. And the song thanked the bear from whom this ointment had come.
Can you sing that for us?
Using some kind of like bear fat or something to massage the skin around the fracture site.
Now, can you sing the song so we get the reality of the moment?
I would like to, but I don't have the words, the tune, or the voice.
Oh, okay.
So we're out of luck there.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about something that you and I have not a clue about.
Okay.
All right? Some of our female listeners will relate to this, though. I'm going to talk a little bit about childbirth.
Oh, boy. Okay. Here we go.
Here we go. So, here we go, yeah. Now, most Native American Indians, they saw pregnancy as just a normal life function, and usually the mother had very little difficulty in delivery. In fact, they say that the full-blooded Indians seem to have less problem during childbirth than a lot of other groups. Now, complications were rare. Most of the Plains Indians actually built a special hut for labor, or the mother delivered in her own teepee. And this, if you think about it, this custom really was more sanitary because it exposed her to bacteria to which she was accustomed and probably prevented infection.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really probably the cleanest place that she could deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at times during prolonged labor, they would actually drive stakes into the dirt for the mother to grab onto when she had the pains. But in most instances, she was on her own.
Really?
I mean, she was rarely offered aid unless there was a complication of some kind. So
she couldn't push a button. She didn't have a button there in the teepee that would call for help then, right? She was just on her own.
No, or any medication.
Ooh.
But most of the tribes, if they did any intervention, they restricted their maneuvers to the outside of the body. Like sometimes they would press on the abdomen, or actually, and this may sound odd, but they could actually manipulate the infant through the abdominal wall if the baby wasn't quite in the right position.
Oh, my.
So now the Sioux sometimes took the woman in labor, and they would lift her up and put this lady on their back with their belly downward against the person's back and jump up and down, hoping to induce labor.
Okay.
Like I said, you and I have not a clue regarding this. So now, I mentioned drugs. Well, there were actually some things that were administered to women in labor. They would take powdered rattles from snakes, were used by the Mandan Indians to enhance labor. Sacagawea, we're told, actually received this concoction just before she delivered her baby, Pompey.
Stop, just a minute. Question. I have my hand up. I'm sitting in row 3. How did somebody come up with the idea that a rattlesnake rattle ground up was going to help a lady in labor. You got to explain this one to me, Dr. History.
You know what? It's just like today's medicine. You know, if somebody has a problem, it's an educated guess what to give them, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work, and when they find something that works, they keep using it. So that's all I can tell you there.
Okay.
But, you know, some tribes actually would post a man with a gun near the enclosure where a woman was in labor, and on a signal, the gun was fired in the hope that the noise would startle the mother into labor. And that wasn't always necessarily the case either, but...
Think about what it did to the father.
Maybe it was the father that was shooting, I don't know. But the Flatheads used tea from the roots of the Oregon grape, and that actually would stimulate labor as well.
Holy cow.
So there were other things besides the rattles from the snakes. So, But after delivery, most women received no special treatment. Flathead mothers, for instance, they had no rest period, and considering the life of the nomadic-type Plains Indians, it's doubtful that any of these granted the mothers much rest. I mean, they just were expected to be up and going. As you know, they had the baby. Okay, let's get moving here.
Now
here's something I found interesting that I hadn't known before. Abortion was actually an option for some Indian women.
Really?
Now, this was kind of a social thing in some respects, because let's say there was a disease or a shortage of food. If a woman happened to become pregnant by a white man, they figured that the resulting half-breed baby, according to some, made delivery more difficult. Anyway, there were circumstances that were indication for an abortion. Now, in some tribes, abortions were induced when there was disease, starvation, or other stressful things going on because they didn't want the baby to suffer or perish. So, and these procedures took place with the approval of the husband.
Oh, my goodness.
Usually the knowledge of the entire village. So you got to wonder, how did they do this? Well, the methods they did for an abortion were really crude, and the sad thing is a lot of young women died in the process.
Oh, my.
They would sometimes kind of bounce on the woman's abdomen.
Oh, my goodness.
Not a good thing. Now, they did have some herbs that were valued that would produce an abortion. And, as I mentioned last week, it's likely that a lot of these Indian women knew of the plants in their area that would help with an abortion.
Doc, when you think about it, and I got to interrupt you here because we are so fortunate. We do not appreciate or understand how fortunate we are. We go to the dentist and we get a painkiller. We get a shot or we get something to deaden the pain. We go to the doctor's office. We have surgery, like I just came out of surgery, and all the anesthetics. We are so fortunate in the technocracy and technology today. Those people had to be tremendously tough.
Well, they did, and, in some ways they were ahead of their time, and in some ways they were definitely behind, but, they did the best they could with what they had. And to me, it's pretty amazing, some of the things that they did that were better than some of the white men's treatment at the time.
Absolutely.
But, one thing that kind of stands out when you evaluate the Indian's medicine is that the Indian doctor knew how to treat most of the diseases and injuries to which he was accustomed prior to the arrival of the Europeans. I mean, he knew a lot before the Europeans got here.
Unbelievable.
I mean, like gastrointestinal complaints, skin disorders, rheumatism, even like upper respiratory infections, fevers, flus. They responded to the Indian treatment. Now, the native tribes, they lived in balance with their environment until the foreign bacteria and viruses and all that disturbed the balance.
I see.
I mean, they got along great for hundreds of years. Now, and again, before the arrival of the Europeans, life was good. I mean, there were few germs in their environments. By contrast, Europeans, they were, remember the Black Plague and all that? They had infectious diseases for hundreds of years.
So what you're saying is the Europeans came over on the boat and really kind of messed things up.
They did, and that's what I'm going to mention right now.
Yeah.
In contrast to the Europeans had developed a degree of immunity to some of these things like smallpox, measles, flu, plague. They had, because they'd been around it, so some of them had developed somewhat of an immunity, but this wasn't true of the Indians of America. So as these first European explorers arrived in the New World, they and the animals that came with them brought viruses, bacteria that would really pretty much wipe out the Indian population.
Now, let me ask you.
Clear back in about 1525, 1500s, 1600s, that smallpox, flu, diphtheria, measles, all were brought over by the Europeans.
Now, let me ask you a question there, Doc, and very serious question. When we think of flu, influenza today, it's no big deal. Home for about 2 or 3 days, maybe maximum, kind of a stuffy nose and a cough and maybe a little bit more of a problem, but nothing life-threatening. Why was influenza basically a killing disease or abnormality back then?
Well, if you think about our lives now, we are around people from the time we're born, and our immune system develops to the point where we are less likely to have a severe reaction to the flu. But I've got to say, this past winter, the flu has hit a lot of people really hard, and there have been a few deaths from flu this past winter. So it can be a pretty severe, especially for the very young and the very old.
So it would go through basically a tribe, and I've read stories to where basically the influenza could almost wipe out the whole tribe.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, it's estimated that in the first 1 or 2 centuries after Columbus got here, that the population of the Indians declined by 95%. 95.
Wow.
I mean, they had no genetic resistance or immunity, and millions of Indians died. Now, population estimates of the Indians in North America in actually the 15th century, there may have been as many, and this is just a guess, as many as 20 million Indians. By the end of the 19th century, there were only 500,000.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, that's a huge, wipe out of tribes that, and I've read, and you have, of whole tribes that were totally wiped out. And tribes that, we don't even know their names. There's an interesting documentary by Kevin Costner called 500 Nations.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen part of that. I have a book and some videos on that, but he talks about that there were about 500 different tribes at one time.
Wow.
And, the most we ever hear about in the West now is, the Cheyenne, the Sioux, the Shoshone, the Blackfoot, some of those. But there at one time was, all across the country.
So basically, the Native Americans and the different tribes, be it the Sioux, the Shoshone, the Flatheads, whatever, there was, for lack of terminology, better terminology, there was almost a Holocaust at one time where they almost were obliterated.
Yes, exactly. And, it's terrible also that happens sometimes that some of the mountain men that were not very scrupulous, if you want to call that, would actually go into an Indian village knowing that they had maybe furs or whatever that were taken from another tribe, and he would leave them there, and that tribe would soon be wiped out.
Oh, my goodness.
Then he'd go in and take their stuff, their furs and one thing and another. I mean, so in some ways, the white man intentionally infected some of the tribes.
Oh, my. Well, we're out of time, but you absolutely were phenomenal with the speaking about the shamans and the medicine, and I learned a bunch. I still got 1,000 questions to ask, and I thank you for a job well done again this week.
Well, thank you, Zeb. It's in my profession, medicine is a fascinating study, and I enjoy learning more about it. And there's so much we don't know even today.
Let me ask you this question, and I'm putting you on the spot, and it might be embarrassing for you, but is it at all too early to let people know that there is very soon going to be availability of Dr. History's different stories and comments?
You know what? I'm ready to roll with that.
Okay. In other words, I'll let you quickly, I'll give you 30 seconds, that's all I've got, to tell people what we're going to do.
Well, hopefully within about 6 weeks, we are going to make available to anybody in the world, basically, a podcast. Zeb and I have been doing this for about a little over 6 years, and there's people that have mentioned that they would like to hear stories that they have not been able to hear. So we hope within the next 6 weeks to get that out on the Internet as a podcast that you can listen to anytime, anywhere.
All right. And we're going to have a lot more information on that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get Ken to come on the program sometime away from Dr. History, and we're going to talk about how to obtain those and how to get them and everything else. So, Dr. History, God bless you, better known as Dr. Ken Turner, and thank you so much for a great job today, and keep in touch and let me know what's happening, okay?
All right. You have a good day, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
You bet.
One of the nicest men I've ever worked with, Dr. Ken Turner, better known as Dr. History. Hey, don't forget Mad River Laser wishing you and yours a very happy Valentine's Day. And temporarily, they're still at their old location of 700 South Oneida Street in Rupert. They're going to be moving before too long. And as a matter of fact, with that move, they're going to have a clearance sale right now. They're moving, and they don't want to pack all the great stuff up, and they've got selections of blank and demo T-shirts for under $5. And don't forget, you can get all your vinyl lettering right there and rubber stamps right there. Anything you need, they can take care of. I swear by these folks. They are the best. They're the ones that made up all my nice, really nice Zeb at the Ranch steak knives. Mad River Laser, 700 South Oneida Street in Rupert, wishing you and yours a very happy Valentine's Day. We're going to send it back over to the main studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you. We're going to have my good buddy Dan Kish on the air with us in just a moment with the Institute for Energy Research. Stand by, but I want to remind everybody, every Thursday right here on Zeb at the Ranch, we have School Days in Cassia County, brought to you by two wonderful location businesses, A Child's World at 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley, and at A Child's World, don't you forget, they got the new Smoothie hairbrushes that you've seen advertised that puts an end to tears and all the tangled hair, and they got all the boppy pillows, and they've got the new spring dresses arriving. Spring dresses already, my goodness. And all your clothes, all the family games, everything at A Child's World, 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. And also our thanks to the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. And don't forget that they have the surgery center that people usually save half on their outpatient surgery bills. They have a board-certified gastro doctor who does colonoscopies. And remember, a colonoscopy can save your life. Check it out today. Call, please. Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley, 677-8888. Right now to the phones we go, and a good friend with the Institute for Energy Research, Dan Kish. Dan, when are they going to sign the go for the Keystone Pipeline?
I can't get him on the phone. It won't go through.
Let me see if I have another number.
It's not the phone number. Yeah, if you can give me another phone number, because the one, it just keeps on being kicked back. It won't go through.
Which one did I give you?
Let's see here. The 2959.
621 prefix?
Yep.
Okay. How about 202-360-2480?
Okay, I'll let you know.
All right. Thank you very much, Gina. Oh, live radio. We had to wait just a few moments. That's okay. Little update as to what we're going to be doing tomorrow on the program, and thanks some of our guests that we've got planned to come on. We've got Christine Harbin Hansen that's going to be on the air talking about the Farm Bill, and then we're going to have Julia Seymour talking about media money, how much all these people, these big shots on the news, network news, how much they're making, and yet they're always saying that we, the working class, have to give more. And then, of course, don't forget we're going to have our 1006, our state legislators on, whether it might be Speaker of the House Scott Bedke or Senator Dean Cameron or possibly any number of Fred Woods might be on tomorrow. We'll check it out. But that's all coming up tomorrow on Zeb at the Ranch. Don't you miss it. Now let's check over with Gina and see if we've had any better luck with that number. Okay. Quick reminder, too, that the Minnecasia Lincoln Day Banquet and Luncheon will be held on Saturday, March the 1st. That's right around the corner. It's going to be at 2 p.m. at Maury's Steakhouse in Burley, and everybody try to be there. You know, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for you to go to your legislators, you to go to the people that represent you, that we pay their wages, they work for us, and tell them what you want done. Honestly, Minnecasia Lincoln Day Luncheon, don't miss it. Saturday, March 1st, 2 p.m. at Maury's Steakhouse in Burley. Gina, any luck?
So he's calling me back on the landline. I did get him on his cell phone, and so he's going to be calling me back on the landline so we can get a good connection.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, he's been on our program many, many times in the past, and I've got the utmost respect for his abilities and knowledge about what's going on in the world of energy with the Institute for Energy Research. Dan Kish. Dan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Zeb.
Dan, simple question to start things off. There is absolutely no excuse. There is no reasoning. There is absolutely no negativity in putting in the green light for the Keystone Pipeline. What's holding this president up from picking up his proverbial pen and signing the go-ahead?
The same thing that's been holding him up for 5 years, Zeb. Politics. Pure, raw politics.
In what form? I mean, I'm absolutely livid that the American public isn't just absolutely beating down the doors of the White House, demanding that our politicians do what we want, not what they want. Why isn't there more pressure being put on the president?
Well, because he didn't listen to folks who cling to their guns and their religion, Zeb. He listens to a bunch of Hollywood fat cats and, people with a lot of money to throw around, like there's some billionaire out in California wants to run for office. He's been funding all this anti-Keystone stuff, and he's climate change and all the rest. Lord knows he's got a carbon footprint probably size bigger than your audience and me combined, and yet that's basically what's been happening. He's been holding fundraisers for him out in San Francisco and California, where all the elites get together and spend $20,000, $30,000 to contribute money. That comes back to the president, and so as long as this goes on, he can milk it for all it's worth, and the devil take the hindmost when it comes to the American public, whether they could use some more energy coming from our friends in Canada. That's basically what it is.
All right, let me throw this scenario at you. And, Dan, I've got the utmost respect for your knowledge. That's why I want you on this program. Here's my feeling. The November elections are not that far away. And the Democrats are in absolute disarray and in a lot of hot water, both in the Senate and the House, because of the incompetency and the idiocy of Obamacare. Now, here's my question. If Obamacare does not get better, and every day there's another loophole that goes to the wrong side, the negative side of Obamacare, if it doesn't get better, is this the only way that Obama can help save face and help save some of his Democratic votes, is to go ahead and go with Keystone to make himself and the Democrats look better?
Well, some folks think so, Zeb, and it could be, but I have to tell you, I mean, this shouldn't have taken, this doesn't, all you need is a little bit of horse sense, and this thing should have been built already. That's basically it. And if I was going to, if I thought somebody could convince me that somehow, well, gee, because I ruined your health care and drove up your health care costs and made you not be able to get the doctors that you liked, and all those things I said were wrong, somehow him doing something he should have done the first chance he had 5 years ago, it doesn't make any sense to me. To me, it's too little too late, and on top of that, I don't really like to give extra credit for the work a person's supposed to put in to begin with. And it's like I say, you could take anybody with an ounce of common sense and ask him if it's a good idea to put a couple 20,000 workers per year on a 2-year project to work, building a pipeline that will bring oil from our neighbors to the north and help reduce our imports from other parts of the world, and that's just a no-brainer. So I don't know why we ought to reward him for doing what he should have done in the first place. We should kick him in the rear for not doing what he should have done in the first place.
I could not agree more. But now here's another question. How much longer, how much more patience is Canada going to have with this absolutely lazy, slovenly administration of not doing anything? How much more patience are they going to have before they say, the heck with you, United States, we're going elsewhere?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, what they've already said is we're going to stop using the United States as our only, as the only place we sell our energy. That's pretty much it for them anyway. They've always assumed that we were friendly. I mean, I don't know about you, but we tell jokes about the Canadians, and they tell jokes about us, but basically we're darn good friends. We speak the same language. We have the same basic ethic and moral values. We're cut of the same cloth. And what's he do? Poke him in the eye.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, too. I don't know why he tries to make friends out of our enemies and enemies out of our friends.
Dan, do you read the USA Today?
Sometimes, Zeb.
All right. Yesterday was a glaring example of jilted and tilted writing for or against the Keystone Pipeline. And on the op-ed page, here was the headline on the op-ed page, and it was a question. It said, Keystone XL, time to okay the oil pipeline, with a question mark. And then the sub-headline said, now listen closely to this. The subheadline said, Americans narrowly support the controversial Keystone Pipeline. Right next to that statement, Americans narrowly support, they had a graph, and it showed in favor of the pipeline, 56 to 58% of the American public are in favor of it, and 41% oppose it. Now, that's not narrowly, Dan. That's a pretty darn good margin.
Yeah, in politics, that'd be a landslide. But beside that, I have to tell you, I don't know who did that poll, but that's nonsense. Most of the polls have been running about 70%.
That's right.
Again,
that's right.
This is not a difficult thing to understand. What's the old "don't look a gift horse in the mouth"? I just don't get it.
Why in the world, and it's not just over this Keystone Pipeline, it's over a lot of things political, Dan, that we are wasting our time listening to 1 or 2 or 3 percentage points of people that are trying to destroy the American value system and the American work ideal for the other 97%. You got to help me, my friend. Why in the world do we pay attention to these absolute lowlifes and creeps that are trying to destroy the working and moral value of America?
Well, Zeb, I don't think we do, to be honest with you. I think we got a guy in the White House who does, and some politicians in Washington who want to court favor with the New York Times and the L.A. Times, some of these big city newspapers. These folks couldn't, fight their way out of a paper bag. And frankly, all they do is work off the backs of the working people around this country who produce the things that, they turn the dollars over on. And so for the money changers and for those folks who make movies and that sort of thing and don't understand how anything is made in this country, it probably makes sense for them. But basically, the real question is why the president would turn his back on something that's in the national interest. It's good for this country, good for this economy, good for our national security and all that, and basically hold it up as though somehow this is he's got to do a balance here, when in reality it's just nonsense. The real question is, how do we get somebody in the White House who fails to follow any kind of common sense. Sounds like he's been in a college campus his entire life. Maybe he has.
Yeah. Dan, stand by. We've got a caller with a question for you. Caller, quickly, go ahead, please.
Yes, Dan. Just a curiosity. The oil that's in Canada right now that would be shipped down the pipeline to, south, where is that going now? And then the oil that's coming out of the Bakken up in North Dakota, where does that oil go? And I'll hang up.
That's a good question. Dan, give us some of the distribution facts, would you please?
Sure. Well, what's happening with the Canadian oil right now, that which can get out is a huge amount of it's coming by rail, or it's being piped into the Midwest. It feeds the refineries in the Midwest, Chicago area, down all the way into Ohio, Michigan, those areas, and provides the bulk of the supplies of oil that feed those refineries. A lot of the Bakken oil is being transported by rail. By the end of this year, about 90% of the oil from the Bakken is coming out by rail, and it's going to refineries in the Gulf Coast. It goes over to the Mississippi, where it's moved onto barges and feeds the refineries that are laid along our national riverway system, and so that's basically where it's going. It's been contributing hugely to our supplies of oil throughout the country, and all this would do is rationalize to some degree some more of that distribution. Anytime, just like our bodies, if we got more arteries and more veins, it's going to move the blood to more places. Oil is blood for our economy, makes us stronger. For some reason, the president thinks that we ought to have an aneurysm or something coming across the Canadian border.
Yeah, and Dan, here's something else, too, and I want you to talk about this briefly. Why is it that the American public is so ill or non-informed that they don't understand? This is not a novel idea. This is not the first pipeline going through Central America, a central part of our great United States of America. And there are some people that say, I don't want that eyesore and eventual environmental disaster going through my state. There are hundreds of pipelines. Why don't people do their homework before they shoot their big mouth off?
Well, if they say they don't want an eyesore, then they must be a mole or something, because or groundhog or ferret or something that lives underground, because that's where they are. There's a temporary disturbance, and then they reclaim the land, and it goes underground.
That's
and
right.
Therefore, nobody can smash into it with a truck or anything else.
There you go.
It's nonsense. I mean, why do they think this is a big deal? Because the media tells them it is. Because as you just read, I mean, you've got a newspaper there, big national newspaper, talking about how this is some sort of a close issue in America, when it's just nonsense. Ask anybody on the street and ask them what they think and build it. Let's get going. We should have built it yesterday.
Final thought here, Dan. Okay, on the negative side, I got to think positive, hopefully, that somehow a ray of sunshine will hit Obama on the top of the head, and he'll all of a sudden act like he's presidential instead of an incompetent amateur. What happens if he doesn't sign for the Keystone Pipeline? Where are we energy-wise? What will it do to prices? What will it do to the future of any progress for our country?
Well, it's going to keep a lot of people from going to work who could otherwise enjoy a good paycheck, pay taxes, get off the public dole if they're on the public dole. Those sorts of things, very things the president says he wants, but he apparently doesn't want them enough to say yes to anything. We'll get by. Obviously, we're producing more oil, and if they don't shut us down on that, and he's working hard on that too, because his friends are screaming about hydraulic fracturing too, which is we've done over 1 million times in this country. So ultimately, we'll make it. The question is, what will the Canadians do? Canadians will sell the oil to China. China will get stronger because it's got more blood in its system. We'll get weaker because we've got less. It's that simple.
Dan, I absolutely appreciate your taking the time to come on the program with the Institute of Energy Research. Dan Kish, a very beloved friend on this program because he tells it like it is. God's blessings to you, and I'll be in touch, and have a good one. Thank you so much.
God bless you, Zeb. Thank you kindly.
All right, sir. Thank you. Why? Why won't this president? Why won't this administration get their head out of their sandbox and sign for something that is so needed? The Keystone Pipeline, not only for the jobs, but also the efficient manner with which we could transport the oil for use and progress here in this United States. And to read some of the idiotic, and they are, idiotic references against the pipeline. People don't know because people are not informed, but still people shoot their big mouths off without having the right education as to what really the Keystone Pipeline is. It's shameful. It's shameful. We're going to have a weather update right now with Michael Rogers Weather. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com as we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. To do that, I don't even know what the weather is. Our weather theme for the rest of this week is cool. 20s all the way through Friday. Overnight lows will be probably about the low to mid-teens. Stormy clouds in the forecast all the way through. Let's put a sweater on and enjoy the day and enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. MichaelRogersWeather.com. By the way, real quick, we'll take some more phone calls. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget the Founders Celebration at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, they really honor the man that put it all together. And that's Mr. Les Schwab. And it's the Founders Celebration going on right now. Don't forget, at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. And there's great money saving on various tires. They've got some passenger car tires starting at just $39.99. And they've got absolutely some special offers like $50 off custom wheels when you buy a new set of 4. And how about save 15% on wiper blades off a pair of new wiper blades for your vehicle? Stop in and check out all the great buys and all the safety features for you at the Founders Celebration. And that's, of course, at all 7 of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and say hello to them today. Gina, are you right there by the microphone, by the way?
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. The enthusiasm is absolutely amazing. I just found something out yesterday that I thought was pretty interesting. You've been to Sandpoint, Idaho.
Oh, yes.
Many, many times, I'm sure.
Many, many times. Mine for the woods, yep.
There is a ranch up there that raises Clydesdales, and it's called the Parnell Ranch in Sandpoint, Idaho. And they have sold many, many of their Clydesdales to the Budweiser Clydesdales, and one has been featured in some of their commercials.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I wonder if it was one of the ones that we saw in the Super Bowl commercial.
Well, I just got this note in, and it said one of the horses that they got from Scotland now in Sandpoint, and the name Ramsey of the horse, and it's been used with the famous Clydesdales around the world and has been put in some of the various Budweiser commercials. So there you have some people with a Northern Idaho connection up there in Sandpoint, the Parnell Ranch, which raises Clydesdales right there furnishing to the Budweiser people. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I think that is very, very cool.
Yeah, it is.
Keeping it local, too, yeah.
Yeah, and when you say cool up there in Northern Idaho and Sandpoint, it does get relatively cool up there, too.
Actually, it really does, yeah. When I went up to Moscow this last weekend, they actually had snow where we had none.
Really?
Yeah.
And hopefully, I know I don't like snow, especially now where I'm trying to heal up from all that leg surgery and everything. I don't like snow at all. I don't like ice. I don't like any of it. But, we need it. Please, I would like to see the heavens open up and just have a bunch.
Well, I'm looking at the K-Bar studio right now, and we've got snow blowing sideways.
Oh, you do? Let me take a look.
Yeah.
I don't have anything going on here.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been getting some snow showers for at least the past hour and a half here at the Rupert station, and we've got a phone call.
All right, real quick call. I got 30 seconds. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Hey, you advertise for Les Schwab a lot.
Yes, I do.
I just want to give them a plug. I bought a pair of tires couple of weeks ago and lost a hubcap shortly after. Went in and told them about it, and no argument, no big deal. Ordered a hubcap for me and sent me on my way.
You know, I appreciate what you just...
Rather than arguing with me, saying that we're not responsible for that, or...
Well...
what it was taken care of.
I really appreciate that, and there's nothing more than a personal testimonial as to how great those folks are, and I thank you for that. And I'm not just saying that for lip service. I really do thank you for that. It means a lot. And I'll pass that along to those maybe that didn't hear it. Thank you, sir. God bless you for your call, and I thank you.
All right.
All right, sir. Thanks much. Bye. That's nice. That's really nice about talking about our sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Appreciate that. I got to run. We're running late, and we will see you tomorrow at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch. God bless. The way things were, the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.